All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar Wednesday today at noon. And as you're joining, put in the chat what you're eating for lunch right now, or what you're about to eat, or what you're thinking about eating today, because it is lunchtime. And so as we close out our month now, I want to advertise two more webinar Wednesdays that are coming up next month. On May the 13th, we'll be having Megan Vig and Megan Big and Tracy Legeen talking about the new FCS Bowl. They're going to be getting started. We're going to do that for the first time this August. And then on May 20th, Samantha Lawman is going to talk to you about preparing for your achievement days and county fairs after your animals have already been entered and kind of getting ready for that season that we're going to be kicking off. But today, I'm really excited that we have a great webinar. We have a great group today. We have Lainey Stockler, Carrie Helgo, Aspen Lenning, and Jill Murphy, and they're going to be talking to you about how to survive a county fair and from the county level. And so I'm really excited to hear what these ladies are going to talk about. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you so much, Megan, for that introduction. Bear with me as I do have a little bit of a cough and my throat gets kind of scratchy the longer I talk. So I do have a cough drop that I'm kind of working around in my mouth. So just kind of bear with me on that part. But I am going to get my screen shared here so you guys can kind of see what we're going to be going through today. So Megan, again, thank you for that introduction. Greatly appreciate it. And there we go already. So some of the objectives that we have for today, each of these are going to cover our individual sections for the four speakers today. So for myself, it's using a comprehensive pre-fair checklist to manage and delegate all tasks and deadlines to avoid last-minute chaos. For Jill, it's going to be preparing judges with effective orientation materials, clear exhibit rules, and organized judges folders so judging day runs smoothly, which we all hope for. As for Carrie, she's going to talk about strategies for de-escalating conflict conversations with difficult parents or adults. I know most of us have probably been in that situation, and it's not always the most fun, for sure. And then for Aspen, it's going to be understanding how to prepare an O-shoot box for unexpected needs on event day. And give me 1 second here. I see we may have a couple people in the waiting room. Um, but before we get started and before we get too far, Jill is going to help us figure out who our first drawing winner is.
Jill, you're muted. There you go.
My computer. I know my computer's glitching out and it's having issues. So, thanks, Lainey, for that. As she said, we do have a drawing, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get in on this? This is from when we sent out our first, our real formal needs assessment where we asked, what kind of questions you guys have, what kind of prep you feel like you need for fair. So if you filled out that survey, you saw there was an additional link that was like, fill this out to get entered for a gift card. So we are drawing for that as soon as I can see my screen shared. Somebody, one of you gals, if you could nod, that'd be great because mine
Not
is being
yet.
wonky.
We still don't quite see it yet, Jill. Just so you know.
I don't like it. It said it was sharing. Okay, we might have to come back to this and get it set up on somebody else's screen because we are having technical difficulties over here.
And that's okay, because it happens to the best of us. So, Jill, however, we need to get that shared with one of the four of us. We can get that figured out to get that going a little bit later on. So I guess that just means we'll have two drawings at the end, and that's okay. So let me transition back to our PowerPoint here. And before we get started too far for today, we'd kind of like to know a little bit more about you guys. So we've all had stress during the fair season, whether we do have a fair, whether it's just an achievement day, and we're still all here. Thank goodness. But what is one thing that keeps you believing in the fair? And you can, if you'd like to unmute, you can sure do that, or you can type it in the chat and we'll wait till we get a couple of responses. Oh, it's the kids. Yep. Hayden. Yep. Multiples. Oh, we're having fun. That's always a great thing. The excitement and success of the youth. Yep. Sometimes I'm sure it's great to be able to see all the kids and their projects. So absolutely. The number one thing that I saw with most of those comments is the fact that we're really all here for the kids. It's about them. It's about the success and the confidence that they can achieve um, through this event or the process of what we do with fairs or achievement days. So thank you all for who shared with that. I appreciate it a lot. And I'm just going to get rolling into my portion. So, before we take a look at this checklist that I have created, I am going to share the link to the Google Doc in the chat. So if you want to follow along, it's like a 8 or 10 page document, and we'll kind of go over the format of it. But if you prefer to kind of look on your own screen, you can sure do that as well. But I would like to thank Jill Murphy and Bailey Schrader who helped me put this checklist together. Um, their counties have been organized over the years with their scenario specific checklists, so that was super helpful in kind of creating this massive checklist that you all can generalize or and specify for your counties. So like I had said, I shared that link in the chat. Feel free to open it up if you'd like. I believe it is only on view mode. So if you are looking to edit that while we're kind of going through some stuff today, just be sure to make or download a copy before you start trying to do that. And you probably noticed it if you have it open already. So first I'm going to go over the format of what we see. So if you don't have that link open, that's perfectly fine. We'll see some screenshots here on the PowerPoint as we go through this. So the checklist I created for this webinar, it includes a timeline, responsibilities, and then also tasks. And it goes pretty well in that exact order. The picture on the right-hand side here, it provides an example of what the first page looks like. And let's take a closer look to better understand the format of the checklist like I had talked about. So as you can see here on the first page, we have the title at the top, and then under that, I put in a little reminder statement. And I did mention this document is easily customizable for your specific county, whether that is a fair or only an achievement day. Because I know, like for myself, it's a little bit different. In my county, we only have an achievement day. But what you can do is while you're customizing this, I kind of put each of the things that you should be taking a look for whenever you are customizing or being more specific. So again, it goes over those timelines, responsibilities, and then also the individual tasks that we can see. I do recommend, I'm a very type A, very gold person. So what I would recommend is that you can keep the red highlighted statement at the top until you're done with all of your final edits. That'll serve as a reminder just to tell you that, hey, we got a couple things that we maybe need to look through before you can really start following it as close as you can or as you're comfortable with. And then once you're comfortable with those revisions, you can go ahead and delete that statement, and then you can start using it. So the timeline, if you're looking through the document, the timeline or each page is broken up into the different timeline sections. So for this first page, we can see at the bottom that it says 6 months or more before fair. I left that open just because if you have a larger fair, you're going to probably need to space that back a little bit more. And then like the second page would be 5 months before fair. Third is 4 months before fair. And then obviously our timeline gets a little bit closer as we get closer to fair. Now, looking at some of the more detailed portions of the checklist from the main sections or the timeline, then it goes into listing certain collaborators' titles. So at the top, we can see all staff or leadership. There's also A&R agent, and then throughout there's FCW agent, 4-H agent, maybe administrative assistant or support staff. There's different titles throughout it, and it also goes all the way up to those on the fair board as well. So then under each collaborator's title, that's where we're finally going to be able to see the items that are addressed. And many of these items are worded quite general, like I had mentioned. So when you edit them, you can be more specific, but really those checklist items are to at least give you an idea of what it's referring to or what it's talking about. And then if you need to, like for a couple of them, there's a contact line. So if you need to add more, you can surely add more, and then it's all right there. And it's really easy for you to find. Now let's get into more of the specifics. So what all is actually included throughout the checklist? And I've sectioned this into a couple keywords that I've picked out so that we can kind of see some of the things that fall under those keywords. So this is going to go in chronological order of what we would usually want to start with. So I took out begin and planning so that we know those are probably going to be our first steps that we should be looking towards. So under that, we can see a couple of them. Even like I had said, very general, just begin communicating with your fair board or any partners that you have. Whether you start identifying livestock and specialty judges, event chairs, and so on and so forth. And you might be able to see that a couple of these overlap. So for example, the fourth one here says begin planning 4-H communication schedule. So then that would kind of fall under our other planning one that we have here, but not all of them do that. So I did want to just kind of pull out some of those words for the planning side of it. And as you go through this list, or as you look at the list, the further down that you go is when we're going to see those popping up a little bit, or at least further down on our document. So not all of these are going to be on the 6-month or before page. They could be on the 4-month or before page, depending on where they kind of rank in some of the priority items. Looking kind of at the next steps for a timeline, I pulled out coordinate and confirm. So these are probably going to be more in the middle section of some of the pages, and then again, various tasks for the tasks under each of those words. So whether it's just coordinating with the fair board, and then there's tasks under that, talking about like facilities, what you need for that, whether anything needs cleaned up from the year before, anything along those lines. And then confirming is definitely going to be maybe a little bit closer, or at least even if you're confirming twice, that's perfectly fine. So whether it's major entertainment, judges, vendors, anything along those lines. Looking at our kind of third and, well, yeah, our third and final timeline words. would be send and finalize. So whether that's just general information for your county or the state, enrollment reminders, just kind of those things that maybe people need reminded of a little bit more or a couple times throughout. And then making sure for finalize that we are like everything is ready to go, that no more changes are needed. So that's kind of where some of those tasks fall. And it is going to be probably 3/4 of the way through the document, whether we're looking at a month beforehand, 2 weeks beforehand, if it's not too much of a major thing, or you're waiting for other details, whatever the scenario might be. And then I also pulled out some key 4-H words that we would want to look at. And these really fall anywhere in the checklist. So we can see some of the words begin, secure, finalize. And again, these would work through the documents in chronological order. So for livestock, there's a couple of them, whether it's talking about judges, event chairs, or even just the logistics, because we know that can be oftentimes forgotten or overlooked. And then also for judges, we need a lot of volunteers. We need a lot of judges for various different things. So not all of it includes livestock. There's obviously going to be needed some judges needed for static events. And all of those are very important to remember and make sure we're confirming, finalizing those details again. And then if you're not aware of the feature, what you can do to kind of pull up the same screen that I did with these screenshots is you can press Control and then the letter F, and then that'll create this list that we have here on the side or on the screens that I've showed. So and if there are certain words that you're trying to look for, that is a really easy way to do that. So now I went through that pretty fast, very brief, but I'd just like to know what some of the initial things are, even if you saw 'em from the word list that I have, maybe some things that you would change or specify for your specific county. So if you can either unmute, you're welcome to do that. You can place it in the chat. What are some of those changes that maybe you would make? Or you would be more specific on? And don't be shy to share because your answer might spark an idea or a note for someone else that maybe wouldn't have thought of that. The follow-up with judges, yep, sometimes that can be overlooked for sure. And maybe you want to have the judges' names multiple spots in the checklist where those contact lists are. That can really help to just make sure that you have everyone listed there and you don't lose any contacts. A color person, yep, so color code specific things as a visual, you can certainly do that. Whether it's color coding for the timeline or who's going to be in charge of what tasks, even if you don't want it separated a certain way, you can certainly customize that however you need for sure. Good list in general, feel less scattered. Yep. So the goal of this is to really just kind of provide as many ideas that are possible to make sure that not or certain things aren't getting overlooked. So thank you for those that shared with that. I really appreciate the feedback on that. And then obviously you can talk between counties if multiple counties are using it. Maybe people have changed certain ways or certain things to a certain way, and you think that would be really good for you. We can certainly help each other in that aspect. So thank you all for listening to my part of the presentation, and thank you for some of the comments that were coming into the chat. Jill is going to be taking the stage next and talking about preparing judges. Jill, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Okay, we're gonna try this again. We're having a lot of issues with my computer today. So, if you see my camera go off, we're having bandwidth problems, but I'm gonna try and hang out with you guys absolutely as long as I can. Thank you all for joining us. I know it's lunchtime. We have things we're working on. So with that, much appreciate you hopping on. My name is Jill Murphy. I am the Ag and Natural Resource Agent in Traill County. I've been here for 6 years. Before that, I was a 4-H Ambi for 4 years. Alicia Harstead and Sue Kwame were the program overalls when I was in. And there's actually a few agents that I was Ambis with that are now agents, and I just always love seeing things like that come full circle. So I'm just gonna do a quick poll, like scale of 1 to 5. How confident do you feel with your judges orientation? You know, because especially as agents, I feel like all of us have done some judging. We've had some great experiences, and there's still times where I'm like, I don't know what to ask. And trust me, dude, totally get it. And there's always those really hard kids that you're like, I need you to open up. What can I do? So, with that in mind, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about now are they're for everyone but clover buds, because a lot of these questions aren't going to be super geared towards clover buds. But I'm going to kind of quick give you guys a few more seconds and end this poll, and then kind of go over just some really brief things that I found from other resources, just different people have shared with me. So now we're just going to end this quick. And then, yeah, like I see a lot of mixed results, you guys. There's a lot of 3s. And so I'm glad to see that we're all like, okay, awesome. I have some questions. I could definitely be improved. Always makes me feel good. So, Lainey, if you want to go to the next slide, please. Perfect. Okay. Some things to think about. Why do we hold a judges meeting? And what do we cover with that? So, one thing that I like to tell you guys, and this is, so I actually made like a little packet that this will be uploaded into the 4-H Google Drive. We'll get it to Megan, and you guys can definitely have access to this resources that way. Anything that's highlighted yellow here in these documents, please tailor to your county. This is set to me and Katie, so me and my admin. It's set for us to use this coming spring or this summer. So just with some basic introductions, it's just quick read over sheet. Things to keep in mind, like things I may not have touched on at my judges meeting, like, is your dress code correct? Are we wearing, our solid color shirt? Do they have a shamrock? Explaining what absentee projects are, because I feel like sometimes this is something that we feel like, oh, not everyone has. I'm going to gloss over it. And especially if you have some new judges, definitely something to keep in mind. And then the next 2 pages, so it's tips for interview judging and possible interview questions. It just gives you some things to keep in mind. Again, some ideal questions. These are like fairly generic questions, not so much directed towards like, tell me your canning procedure. Tell me, how long did it take you to figure out these had to bake for 12 minutes instead of 15 like the recipe calls for. These are just very like kind of gateway questions. And the farther you go down this list, the more in-depth the questions get. And again, it's a tool, it's a guide. By no means do you have to ask these questions. It just helps to give you some coaching, per se, to help get this rolling. Excuse me. And then we all have special awards, whether it's, a family donated money for every grand champion swine to get a special award or whatever. The next page is what I'll highlight for grand champions, reserves, awards of excellence, and then special award requirements. Some counties, especially like for me, my judges may come from other counties, Grand Forks, Fargo, Steele, wherever. Some have rules that like absentee projects are not eligible for grand and reserve. In Traill County, they are. So that's things that like I've put in this letter for them, that it's like things again to be thinking about. Again, nothing super hard and fast about this. It's just what we found our best practices are and what helps us. And then what our next, I skipped a page. Okay, Okay, so back on our last slide quick, one thing I included that I didn't put necessarily up on a slide is just our grand champion project list. We like to color code this and ask for descriptions, project descriptions, whatever. We have found out like there's certain fields that we include that help us definitely identify projects. So like we actually include entry number now on this sheet. A couple things again I didn't picture is that just increase like showing both graphics for the Thrive model to help explain why we do things the way they do and how we help kind of create a visual for what our thought process is. So then going on now to our scorecards, our rubrics as we call them. I just included 4 different examples. We include these for all of our judges. I know they're a pain to fill out, trust me, been there, done that. But again, it gives them some great feedback. And this is something that, Achievement Day is a blur. Coming home with your projects, you can look at, say, okay, if I were to redo this and go back to it, this is what I would change. This worked really well. This is what didn't come out so well. And I think these are great tools for our youth to use. And it also helps give our judge some consistency to evaluate every project on. And I will, in a little bit, I'll actually share my screen and show you guys just where to find these because we know the Google Drive is a rabbit hole. Next slide is that we all have our fair entry cards. And mine looks a little different.
Jill, I'm wondering, before we get too far into this, we do have a question in the chat that asked, do you send out the judges packet before the event, or do you have them come in 15 minutes early and then give them a rundown on the packet at that time? What do you kind of do for your county?
Perfect, and that's a great question, Corley. So some of our stuff we'll send out before, but we'll also bring the whole packet in their table. Because some things we know, like you mail them and, oh, I left it at home. Oh no, what if I needed that? So usually say we start judging at 6, I'll tell them to come between, 4:45, 4:40, and we'll do a quick judges meeting at 5:50, and then give them a little bit of time to flip through their stuff, get situated. And we make sure to stress the kids, interview starts at 6. Give them time to get situated, get all their ducks in a row, everything they need to feel prepared. And that's just how we do it. Again, every county can do it different. But again, great question. I know we were all thinking it. So going back to my fair entry report, and I can show you guys how I do this too. It's one of my absolute favorite tools. I custom make all of our reports for our show. And this one just says photography. And I split them out. Basically, we want our judges to have about 25 to 30 projects. And how we split our grouping depends on what entries we have. So say we might have like 5 in electricity, 5 in woodworking, 10 in mechanics. Okay, I'll group all those together. And that can be really hard to do without having 7 different sheets for the judges. And this way, it's easy for them to look at. And with this form for placing, I just tell them during our judges meeting, use that to mark if a project is going to state fair or not. This helps make promoting a lot easier for us because the office keeps a copy of this and then we double check all our ribbon records that we've uploaded. And that really seems to help us keep things straight. And it seems to help really streamline things as we're promoting projects as well. The last thing in this packet, no, not quite. Okay, this is something else I will walk through with you guys on where to find it. We've all talked about many times about our vector screening, our screening requirements that we started now for for volunteers and all of that process. NDSU, because 4-H is tied to NDSU, and name are like linked together. If they're a 1-day volunteer, it's best practices to have them sign this waiver. That again, I'll show you where that's on. Just if you've ever really flipped through the guide, the policy and handbook guide from Leanne, this is referenced on page 52.11.1, just volunteer stuff. Again, they don't need to do this if they're a regular, like a group leader or things like that. This is your standard 1-day volunteer. So yeah, that we talked about if it's on county property, but the event is still done with 4-H, it's linked to NDSU. Best practice use NDSU's waiver. And yes, those are questions I've had a lot of. We have gone round and around on this. I have an older fairground, so our cement is not in the best shape. This is definitely something that we've kept in mind for years, and it was great to find this. And then the last page, my last slide quick, should be on appreciation ideas. I don't know if Jody Bruins has ever told you guys about her feel good file. She told me about it and I actually started one. It's where if anybody has sent you a note, a thank you card, anything that someone has done, said, whatever, that made you feel good, keep it and put it in a place where you can always look back on it. I have thank you cards from my first year here helping with special assignment pizza that like little fourth graders wrote, and I adore them. And so I think it's important to share that with our volunteers as well. So I just included some punny one-liners to do like thank you gifts, like, you know, you're a super volunteer and give them like a packet of soup or whatever. Something that's, you know, seasonal, but it's also a thoughtful token. And then I also included some tips on writing sincere thank you notes, just little things that can go a long ways and make people feel really good. So with that, I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Ideally, this works. And we're going to go through where to find some of these things. Perfect. Are we seeing my security office one?
It's taking a second to load, but it should come up here any second.
Mandy, I would say gift cards are a great idea. You know, it's something like nothing good or bad about it. It's a good idea. I love a good pun.
Okay, your
Okay.
screen is showing now, Jill.
Okay, perfect. So that 1-day volunteer waiver, you're gonna go campus police, menu, and I feel like this is gonna get really choppy, so like please bear with me if it does. Okay, main office or security office, menu, forms. And then you're gonna go all the way down in your safety office and scroll all the way down to agreement. Nope, wrong one. You're gonna go to waiver. I can never remember that one. So it is the very last attachment in that column. Quick little one pager, nothing terrible about it. Best practice is you send this well, really you should make 3 copies. Keep one on file for you. Send one to the 4-H office and also send one to the safety office. So this is that waiver. And what I wanted to share with you guys one last time, wrong browser. Let me, you guys are gonna see like my 50,000 tabs. It's okay. Okay, excuse me. So we're going into fair entry. Cool. I give up. Okay, so this is my fair for, we're gonna look at last year's stuff and where I go in to make my custom reports. So it's actually under reports. And again, you can sort these any way you want. And then where is it? Okay, so show. And then, so this is like baking. Sometimes I'll save them as the judge's name. So then edit this. It just, if you want your fair logo, you can sort these however you want. Say you want to add barcodes because you scan from the judge's sheet. Super easy to put that in. The more ones you have, the smaller the line gets. So I try to be very conscientious about that. And then, okay, so show configuration, edit. Okay, so you'd sync your fair. Say in this one, I want to add, let's do, say we do something, let's do veterinary science. Okay, so you're going to click in that one and then you hit select and it'll automatically populate to the bottom. Okay, so if you try to do it twice, it'll say it's already linked in there and you can just sort these, just add them up and down. These are things I have found that are super easy and they really help make my life easier, especially when I'm coming to talk to my judges like, oh, hey, we have a drop in this one. Which project is this? Whose kid is this? And all of that stuff. Another thing I started doing to make our life a little easier is asking families to bring their dropped cards for projects because it's so much easier when mom brings you this card saying, hey, Johnny dropped his flowers, here's the project, versus, oh, hey, hi, good to see you. Johnny dropped his flowers. If I'm not holding it, I will probably forget it as mom or somebody else asked me 15 questions. So that was what I wanted to share on prepping our judges. Again, we will upload all of these resources to 4-H Online, or not 4-H Online. Now I'm in fair mode. We will enter these all in our 4-H Google Drive. If you want them like right away, definitely send me an email. We'll have all that information on the end, or at the end, excuse me. So with that, Lainey has talked to us about all our beforehand prep, getting your I's dotted and your T's crossed. I walked you through some of the things we can do to prep our judges. So now we're at Fair Day, it's here, and things are getting heated. Carrie's going to talk to us about staying cool and keeping your calm and helping to de-escalate any potential situation that could come our way.
Thanks, Jill. All right, so this is not everybody's favorite part. It's not necessarily even my favorite part, but it is things that we know happen. I am the Family Community Wellness Agent up in Pembina County. For those of you guys that do not know me, I've been working with fairs for probably 17 years or more. I grew up in 4-H, so I was on the other side of that. But then in college, I did some internships with the program, volunteer role as a parent as we aged up, and then through my 4-H duties. So I've had my fair share of situations that kind of took me outside my comfort zone when a parent or guardian was, let's say, less than happy, right? I'm sure many of you can relate. So for those of you who are newer, it is bound to happen one way or another, no matter how much you try to prepare or do. I want to do a quick poll with us just to see where your confidence level is at. Let's see. Okay, so for dealing with conflict when they're coming at you. See if I can reshare. So we'll just kind of put in. I want to make this light because this can get to be a kind of a heavy topic. We'll give you just a couple of minutes just to kind of read through that. I do get wordy, you guys. I know I do. I know, like personally for me, when I think back at some of the experiences I've had, no matter what I think about or which way I take time to do it, the first time I have a parent coming at me, like pretty loud, pretty excitable, that type of thing, it can really catch you off guard. And keeping your cool is sometimes difficult to do, or just being shocked at the behavior that keeps coming up. So, okay, good. Okay, get a little bit of everything. I love those that are full and ready. Bring it on. And some people do enjoy dealing with conflict, other like to avoid it. The biggest thing is we just need to have a plan. All right, so let's end this quick. Thanks, you guys, for participating in that. So it looks like kind of cautious. We're optimistic. Some are confident. And a few that, yeah, I don't want to deal with it at all. Okay, perfect. Okay, so keeping this all in mind, one of the things that conflict is just something that's there. It's a part of life. It could be around an issue, it could be around a decision that somebody makes, i.e. a judge, or an action that somebody's taken. But the biggest thing that we can do is that we just have those plans in place. So I have a few tips and tricks that you can think about, that you can put in your back pocket, that you can do. The first thing that we want to think about, though, is making sure that we're prepared. And so thinking about all of the work that Lainey put in ahead of time with we've been looking back and preparing for our fairs 6 months ago. So we're talking about getting clear expectations set. And we want to set those not only with our 4-Hers, but also with our families. So it's really all about that communication. 4-H is all about teaching youth how to succeed. And they should be giving access to what a successful project looks like. So we have material for everybody to be able to make sure that they know what's the criteria that we're looking at when a judge is coming through. Nothing is a secret. The rubrics that Jill has already shared with you, or the scorecards, if that's what you're following at your county fairs or your achievement days, making sure that parents and families have access to it. Doing just what Jill did, taking the time to do an orientation, maybe pre-fair or some point in time during the year, going through that Google Drive with them, showing them where it can be. I love we'll send out documents. We know people have access to them when they have them. Whether or not they read them is a different thing. So finding time throughout the year to be able to visit with 4-H clubs and kind of just like always talking about this. What is a project? Where do we find the information that we need to be successful at our project? And what ultimately does it look like when we get around to that judging day? So no matter which way that you try to do this, you can, the more opportunities that you have to keep reminding people that the access is there. Is this all going to happen in your first year? Oh, goodness sakes, no. I've been doing this for years and I'm still constantly orientating. You always have new families coming in or new volunteers that come through and judging and doing different things. So just because you've done it once or twice in the past doesn't mean that you constantly shouldn't be keeping them up to speed with the things that they're looking for, so that you know that you've done your best to do that. When it comes down to the actual fair itself, you can continue to keep the information and communication flowing. I like to put up posters or different communications in the judging area. I also will stick things up in the barn so that they know. I don't necessarily go with a straight rubric packets, but you can just talk about that maybe it's explaining the Danish system that 4-H uses. So what a blue ribbon means, red ribbon means, white ribbon means, those type of information, or just keeping it at the forefront that we're doing this for our youth. This is all being done for the benefit of the youth so that it's consistent with families. I've seen the 10 commandments listed in a funny way up as to what parents should and should not be doing as it comes down to it. Just gentle reminders as to why we're there and doing it. So as you're thinking about this, you guys, it's also time you want to make sure that you prepare yourself and any volunteers that you're working with when it comes to leading up into your achievement days. You really should designate a specific point of person contact. That should be an extension personnel within your office, preferably an agent before working with support staff. You should never make your volunteer a frontline person to have to deal with an upset parent or adult that's wanting something changed. So knowing who that person is and how to reach them and get to them so that things can keep moving. I would encourage you to role play before you come into this with this difficult conversations, especially if you're not used to it. Just take that time to talk it out loud, talk at yourself in the mirror, talk out loud in the car. If you have kids of your own, do the role play with your kids, or work it out in the office. But making sure that it's important that you're letting you're walking through things, and then also making sure that you're telling your volunteers that they can say if something is being questioned or if they feel that things are getting heated, let me connect you with someone who can help. And so they know who they're going to. There's no break in that chain of command. Carrie's the point person. Carrie's the one dealing with all of the hot emotions. Let me help you find Carrie. So that they don't feel any pressure and you can keep moving on. Now, during the event, when things are coming at you and things come through, a lot of the times it's really easy. We tend to forget how to calm our emotions and go through. So I like frameworks. The simplest way to calm down, to recall something when situations get hot fast, is to use the LACE framework. So the LACE. It's quick, it's short, it's simple, and it can be very effective. So we'll just kind of go through these really quickly. Listen is our L. What you really want to do, especially if you're the point person on this, is make sure that you let them finish talking about what they're doing. Don't interrupt them. Allow the parents or the adult to fully express their concerns before you want to respond. Resist the urge to defend or explain while they're talking. And certainly try that active listening. Don't try to go and plan your rebuttal, or, like, how am I going to make this better? What am I supposed to say to them? Making sure that when you're talking back at them, you're listening to that, you're letting them know that you're actively listening and you're listening to the emotions that you're doing. You can say phrases like, I hear that you're frustrated, or help me understand what happened from your perspective. It's also important as you're listening to maintain calm body language. You want to breathe. You want to strive for that neutral tone in your body and in your voice. You want to make sure that you're not speaking too fast, that everything is coming out in a nice, even tone. It's also important to watch what you're doing with your body language. I naturally like to stand with my arms crossed. You want to make sure that you're as open as possible. So posture open, uncross your arms, uncross your legs. You want to soften your eye contact. You don't want to make sure you're squinting or look like you're angry looking. So everything is just nice and relaxed. And then making sure that as you're starting to talk, that you continue to speak slowly. A lot of the times when you have somebody that's really agitated or excited, their energy is loud, and we tend to want to match that energy. As you listen, you want to make sure that you keep everything at a lower, slower pace. As you're listening to them too, though, in the back of your mind, gather some of those specifics that they're talking about. What was said, when, where, who was present, did it happen? I don't want you to do a lot of deep investigating at this point in time, right on the spot, by asking too many questions, and you certainly don't want to make any promises or outcomes at this point in time. So that's the listen. Sometimes it's going to be important if the conversation is very loud or very distracting. You're going to want to move them away into a quieter space and away from the judging area. This protects the youth, and it also protects other families. Your goal in situations like this is to lower the temperature. You're not about winning the argument at this point in time. You can be right, but you could still de-escalate the situation as it is. So you can ask them to simply, like, I want to give this my full attention. Can we walk away, find a quieter space that we can talk some more? But if it gets to the point where the parent or the adult is starting to get threatening, it's escalating beyond control, there's profanity being used, it's important that you know that you can disengage, and you can stop that conversation. And maybe at that point in time, you want to involve someone higher up the chain of command. If that's a supervisor that's there on thing, or maybe there's fair security, depending on which way it goes. It's important to know your limitations on handling conflict and intense conversations. You're not admitting defeat by bringing in somebody else to help. When we look at acknowledge, that is your A. You don't jump straight to the rules and all of the policies. You want to acknowledge the feelings and that you're witnessing before you're jumping into all those facts. So you've heard them. You've named the emotions when you recognize them to help them validate their feelings without necessarily agreeing with the complaint that they have at that point in time. Back to I can see that this is frustrating, and I can see this is really important to you or to your child. You want to make sure that you're leading with as much empathy in the situation as possible. Avoid any dismissive language that can come up. A lot of the times you want to fire back. Well, that's just the way it's always been done, or everybody feels that way. Do not defend or disparage that individual and make them feel like they're being accused for everything. You want to acknowledge their feelings as being real. They need to be heard. You just need to be remain as neutral as you can at all times. And then especially come back to acknowledging the child and the hard work that they have put in and the things have been done. So after you've listened and acknowledged, you want to clarify. So you want to start to talk about the rule process as calmly as you can. You don't need to debate the merit of the rule in that moment. It can be helpful to have that rule book close at hand, someplace where you can grab it, or maybe it's like on your person at all times. The rule book that you have, if that's your own supplement for your fair, your achievement days, if it's the North Dakota State Fair exhibit guide, whatever you have. I like to highlight mine, so I have mine so I can find it. Because when I feel like I'm being attacked or I'm being yelled at, my brain doesn't move as fast as it should. So where can I find what I need to? You don't want to, again, appear or sound defensive at any point in time. You want to be as factual as you can and do it with a nice, warm tone. Remember, rules are not personal. If it's in a ribbon replacing, then you're going to talk about that ribbons are going to reflect the scoring on the criteria for that exhibit. They don't reflect the child's effort or their worth in any way, shape, or form. And then when we get past clarify, you want to look at that E, which represents engage a path forward. You always want to be able to offer that next step, whether that's maybe what's your appeals process and what does that look like, or who do they have the right to contact or visit with about the situation if it's not you directly. So never, ever promise a reversal that you cannot deliver. Be honest about what the appeal process is going to look like and what they can and cannot do in it. You could explain that process for changing the rules through the proper channels. If the situation usually involves a ribbon placing, share the scorecards or the rubrics that Jill showed earlier. Let the parent know, again, where to find these resources and that they're available. And then after you've concluded that conversation, you want to take the time to document everything that you had just, that conversation as best you can with all the details that you can. So including the parent name and the full details of what happened. Okay. So looking forward, you always want to center this no matter what's happening around you and redirect that conversation back to the youth. We're doing this all because of the youth. You guys mentioned that in the chat when we started. That's what keeps you coming back. And that's the piece that matters the most. So you want to constantly keep telling that to the parent that we want to make this an experience that the child remembers and enjoys. It's a learning experience and it needs to be positive. So we also want to remind them that there are other kids and families watching how they themselves as adults handle the disappointment and that we're modeling it. So we want to make sure that we're reframing them to see that their actions could be detrimental to that positive learning experience. If a parent is continuing to escalating in that crowded space again, we want to gently get them to a quieter area. You don't need that child watching and learning to model that negative behavior. And by taking them away from the center of the judging area or the crowd that's around them, you're protecting the youth from witnessing the conflict and hopefully reducing the audience effect on it as well. So I have a couple of do's and don'ts. A lot of them revolve around your voice and your body language. And we talked a little bit about this, but I just want to reiterate, always stay calm and lower your voice. We have this natural instinct to match the energy that's in our room, and our voice will rise with that. Our body will tense up, and we will start to talk faster and faster, and we lose control of the situation. We don't want it to escalate it anymore. So when you can answer somebody in a calm, measured tone, signals that you're in control and the conversation is safe. For me, a lot of the times what I'll have to do is I'll have to think about something else as I can feel my temperature rising. And that might be just simply just squeezing my fist and making that peace so that I am relaxing my muscles then and bringing myself down so that I can keep myself in control. It's also physiologically, it helps you de-escalate the other person. When you lower your voice under pressure, this is a learned skill and it's not a natural one. So that's why it's important to practice it so that it builds muscle memory. So when it happens, you automatically come into that point where you can calm down and feel. So watch for that speed when you're speaking, watch for the tone that you have, and slow yourself down to the point where it almost feels unnatural. And you're probably getting right to where your heart rate is coming at. The environment, you again, move to that privacy. That private place is the best place you want to do. You do not want to do it center stage. Sometimes they become the parent themselves that's upset is focused on how they look to others rather than resolving the issue. When eyes start to be coming on them and they're aware of it, things can go in the opposite way. So privacy does remove that layer of self-consciousness and allows a more honest and productive exchange to happen on both sides. When you ask someone to step away to a quieter space too, it also signals respect and intentionality before a difficult word is spoken. Remember, moving to that private space protects you and the organization. Sometimes if we have witnesses to heated exchanges, it just can complicate the matter even further. When we talk about our emotional intelligence, that just means, again, acknowledging their feelings before we start jumping into the fact. They really want to be heard. They cannot process their information that you're trying to give them effectively when their emotional brain is running the show. So acknowledging their feelings costs you nothing, but it can dramatically lower a person's defense. Once they feel like they've been heard or they become far more open to hearing the facts that you're giving, explanations or solutions that can come up. So giving them that validation to those emotions. Now, this one, acknowledging those feelings, is probably the one that is skipped the most often. People want to go right into, but this is what's written down. These are the rules. This is what we need to follow. Launching straight into facts before a person feels acknowledged often won't work because the person is in such an emotional state that they literally cannot process what they're being told. So anything that you're telling them lands either badly or it doesn't land at all. They will not hear you until they feel heard. Validation is that first shortcut to making sure that you have a successful de-escalation event. Resolution, that offering that path or that appeal path, what's the process, making sure that they're not feeling frustrated because there's nothing that they can do, not giving them a dead end. Even if you can't resolve a situation right there on the spot, offering that clear next step in a formal way can help with that, can help de-escalate, and it gives the person a sense of agency and something that they can do. It'll shift often the conversation from confrontational to a conversation that's a collaboration, demonstrating that you're willing to work with them, not against them. You want them to have a relationship with the 4-H program and with you, and you want them to believe that there are things that can be done so that they stay with the 4-H program. And finally, always make sure that you, again, recognize your own limits. Is this beyond my control? Is this something that I can't handle? It is not a sign of weakness when you can bring in somebody else and you know you're out of your depth. It is actually a sign of professionalism. If safety is a concern again, or there's threatening, or it's extremely a distressful situation, or if your sense of conflict or interest is just you're feeling so far out, just make sure you frame your words so that you know that you're trying to give them the best outcome possible when you're asking to, you know what, this isn't getting us anything moving forward. Let me bring in somebody else. Let me bring in my supervisor, or let's talk about this to in another aspect so that it doesn't feel like it's like moving nowhere. It might feel like admitting defeat, but if you choose to look at it as a tool instead when you need to use it most, you're much better off. The other thing about this list that I want to point out too is it's very intentional in the order that it comes in. You're going to start with yourself. You're going to calm your voice down, and then you're going to control the environment by bringing them into that private space. And then you're going to acknowledge their feelings, meet with them at that emotional piece. What are they feeling? What are the things that you're seeing? And then give them that path forward, those next steps. And then finally, they will have an opportunity. If you can't solve the problem for them, they know who they can on the next step. Each step is important in preparing the groundwork for the next one. And then just a couple of recaps on what we should not never do. Never raise your voice or try to match their energy with that level. Don't have those hard conversations in front of others. Don't jump straight to the rules and the policies or ever say that there's nothing I can do. And certainly don't ever promise an outcome that you don't know you can deliver, even in the heat of the moment. Just take that time to breathe. Okay. So now it's practice time. And just I have a few scenarios. So Lainey's going to bring up the next slide. And what we're going to do is we're going to put you guys into breakout rooms. And I'm going to ask that you guys pick one of these four. So is it the parent that's upset about the disqualification, a parent who's disputing a score or placing, a parent who's confrontational about the rules, or they have a complaint about the judge? So if you could, we'll try to put these into the chat before we send you into breakout rooms, or take a screenshot of these for us. I'm not asking you to remember what room you're going to go into or which ones they were. Just take a quick look as we set this up. And then I want you to try to remember to utilize the LACE format. So do the listen, acknowledge, clarify, and then give them that path forward. And then when we come back, we'll go in for about 3 minutes. And then I'll just ask for if anybody wants to share before we go. Okay. So let's see if I can get this done, ladies. Lainey, how many rooms am I going to need?
We have about 44 people excluding like us as the hosts. So if you have you split 45 people up into groups.
Up here, 4 or 5.
So 9.
Okay.
Or depends on how many people you want per group. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And then we did just put the those into the chat. So to reiterate what Carrie was saying, make sure that you have your scenario that you picked out before you go into the breakout rooms, because you won't be able to see that once you go in there.
Okay. I am going to open the rooms and we'll give you about 3 to 4 minutes, and then we'll bring you back. Okay, you guys. Did I do this wrong? Hang on. Let me see if I can get you in. April, did I not assign you to a room? Or Donna? Hmm. See if I can get you in. Mhm. All right. Well, technology and me. So Donna, Connie, April, how are you guys volunteers? Are you support staff?
Support.
Sina, oops, let's see if I get this right here.
Sorry, we didn't get much done. We were
Just getting started. I know. I don't know why we practiced and we didn't quite get everybody in at the same time. Is there anybody that did get a chance to visit a little bit or something that they would like to share? Mm.
Okay, so it kicked us back into breakout rooms again. I told my group that
Oh,
we'd come back.
yep. Let's close our rooms.
Yep.
In 27 seconds. Oh, sorry, everyone.
That's okay. I think all the rooms could have talked for another 20 minutes. I know mine definitely could have.
As it comes through. Well, so this is why the group made sure that Carrie was touching as little technology as possible, but we're okay. So was there anybody that does, as we kind of get back in here, is there anybody that does want to share anything that they do like to do when there's a conflict? Tip or trick that has worked for them?
I talked about my favorite, which would be to ask them in the perfect world what would be their solution. Because maybe there's genuinely an angle I haven't seen.
Thank you, Aspen. Yep. There's usually a piece that comes down to it. So I think in conclusion, as we look back, Lainey, you want to pull back up the okay. Anytime you deal with a difficult or a difficult conversation, you want to make sure, and we'll hit one more, Lainey. You always want to follow up afterwards, no matter which way it goes. That can either be with a call, a note, or an email. Follow up that parent a few days later, so that that follow up, making sure that they if they have something different to say at that point in time when there's been a little bit of a break in between, goes a long way towards preserving that relationship with the family within the program. You also want to make sure that you're debriefing with your team, if that's support staff, your volunteers, those who are involved, and going over it. Usually that can be 24 hours afterwards, or it can be after your event is completely done. You're kind of going through, but making those notes, like what could you have done differently? How could you have handled the situation? And then you want to talk about patterns. Is there anything that you're hearing complaints about that are repeatedly coming to the surface? They may give you a signal that you need to revise the communications that you've been trying to do with families, or the trainings that you've had, or any of the procedures that maybe are in place, if that's the appeals process or the judging process in of itself. So some of those different ways can make you more effective in the future as you kind of come forth. So all of these scenarios and this information is actually going to be in a handout. The scripts are in there that you can actually look at and read in some different ways that you can use. I know we didn't get a lot of time in the breakout rooms. And again, that's on me. But the handout will be also uploaded into the Google Drives. It will include all that information on LACE so that you can think about it and then practice. So in conclusion for this part, I just want that most upset parents are really acting out of love for their child. If you keep that perspective at the forefront, even when your conversation that you're having feels unfair or difficult, it'll help you respond with empathy rather than with defensiveness. So now we're going to punch it over to Aspen. And Aspen has the perfect solution to help you be more than prepared in any situation at an achievement day or a county fair, with her idea of what goes into an O'Shoot box.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to preface, there is no such thing as perfection. So what I bring to you is what I have compiled. But if there are suggestions that I hear today, I would love to take them. So I would like to start us off. Have you ever had a moment where you were doing a presentation and needed a fill in the blank but didn't have it? In the chat, if you could drop it in, some item that normally gets forgotten. I know I've had plenty of presentations where I get there, I thought I would have XYZ, it's not there, panic. Luckily, I usually have my O'Shoot box in my car, whether I think I need it or not. Bethany, batteries. Heck yeah. Tape, phone numbers, writing utensils, Sharpies. Tape and batteries are for real. They are very real. Absolutely. So, Lainey, if we can go to the next slide. Perfect. So, again, I'm going to ask you, what kind of items do you or should you have in your box? I'd like to hear these things. All of these things we already referenced. And if you guys want to take a moment just to think about something else you think should be in your box, I would love to hear them. Zip ties, yep, the entire office. I would love to be able to just fit that in a magic box, bring the whole thing. The printer would be sweet, but those are tough. HDMI cords, absolutely. Extra ribbons, safety pins, paper clips, for sure. Lots of great things. So, scissors, for sure. I'm going to bring you to the next slide quick, pretty please, Lainey. This is somewhere to start. So these are going to be available to you guys as well. You'll notice that it's in 3 separate pieces. So the way that I have it set up, I have it behind me. I'm going to adjust my camera here. The first time that I showed this off, one of my volunteers was like, Aspen, it really shows that you married a contractor. And it does. This is a toolbox. It's a sweet toolbox. I love my toolbox. So I'm going to walk you through why there's the 3. So, on top I have my actual O'Shoot box. I bring this thing to everywhere. It's small enough that it's not a big deal. And so, bam, they separate. They're sweet. We'll talk about this individually in just a moment. Then I have my second level. This is going to be my livestock piece. So, this is going to have some of the same things that the top has, but then all the things that are specifically related to livestock. It's beautiful. I dropped this at the fair. I open it up. Everything in it is labeled so that even if I'm not there and they need something, they know that they can go to it, take what they need. And then on the bottom I have, it's kind of very much the same, but it'll be for static. We're going to go through these. Lainey, if you could stop screen sharing so that it is me who is big. Perfect. Okay, so The O Shoot box itself, our top one here, I think it's awesome. I'm going to try to make this as close as we can get it here. It's a little awkward with the camera. If we were in person, it'd be so fun. You guys could just feel it, touch it, all the things. Inside, the reason that I really love this one, number one, is the clear top, so that if I have it somewhere and just set it on the table, if somebody needs something, they know they can just go in there and take it. And then individually, there's these nice little compartment things, all right? So you can just take out what you're willing them to have, and if they don't need it, then you take out what they need, close it, put it under the table where they can't see it, and they don't need to be bothering the rest of it. Like I said, I bring this one to absolutely everything. So in this one, I have binder clips, I have batteries, I have AA and AAA. You never know which ones you're going to need. I have a little med kit. I have Sharpies, I have pens, I have pencils, I have a stapler. You'll always forget the stapler. I have staples to actually fill that out. I have little post-it notes. I have I was shocked no one mentioned this, the safety pins. Everybody forgets their safety pins to attach their shirt or their emblem to their shirt. Paper clips, tape, whiteout glue stick. Something that I added to it after my first fair. It was 105 degrees for my first fair. It was terrible, and everyone was getting dehydrated. So now I have these little drink packets. So not only does it have a little bit of sugar in there, but it also has those salts. So if someone is having one of those moments, we can get them. We, of course, have our clovers in here. We have the scissors in here, string in here. Everything that's in here is on that list. I just want to reiterate, this one specifically I love because of the compartments. You don't have to give them everything all at once. And it closes up nice. It has a great handle on it, etc. Then I will just briefly show you guys this one. So we have our livestock one. And in it, I really enjoy it. It has the top little things. So you have your little things. On the bottom, you can put all the things. So duct tape. We have gloves in here. Sometimes things get messy. Again, we have another little first aid kit. This is going to crap. Scooch this elsewhere. And then in it, I have this that'll just pull right out. And it'll specifically have, this is for the dog show, this is for the livestock show, this is for the horse show. They can see everything that they need to, and they're usually pretty good about making sure they put it back if they do that. And then, static, it's going to be very much the same thing. In each level, my administrative assistant is pretty awesome. And so she has these laminated bright yellow within each. So then at the end of the year, after you're done with the fair, you go through and you say, yes, I still have this, I still have this, I still have this. Oh, out of batteries. Make sure that I add those in there. If you guys have not worked with the little barcodes and everything, sorry, you guys can't even see me right now. If you haven't worked with the barcodes and then just had the little scanner, that is such a slick little deal. We have it right in here. When you're going, as we're going in our fair during the static, we have somebody that's a helper. After the judge is done, they bring it to us. We scan the thing. It's right on fair entry. I don't have to type anything. It's awesome. So, just a quick pro tip there. That is going to be what's in the O Shoot box for me. If we can pull up the PowerPoint again. Yes, this is all going to be on that Google Drive as well, and it's a great place to start. I just want to reiterate, the goal is not perfection. Perfection is not possible. The goal is to be prepared for whatever the day may bring. So I've had days where I'm really on it. I remember everything, and it's awesome. I've had days where it's amazing I got through the day. I completely relied on my O Shoot box, but because I put the time and effort into it before we get to that time when it's going to be really frustrating, it's always ready to go. The biggest thing is to make sure that you double check after you have used it. Make sure you refill anything that you have used, and from there it's pretty sweet. This one, the kit that I got specifically, is just from Runnings. It was a knockoff. It's not even a name brand thing. I just really enjoy having something that's tough. I can throw it in the back of the pickup. I can throw it wherever it needs, and it's going to be just fine. It's not going to get damaged. I did inherit a start of an O Shoot box when I started, but it was a tote. I couldn't see anything. It was falling apart. It did not handle well in my car. It was too big. I really like that this separates on its, like when they're all together, it's really heavy and it can be a little bit cumbersome. but it does have wheels on the bottom. And then I can just make sure that I separate it with that. So with that, does anyone have any specific questions? These do go on sale, just so you guys know, just to be watching them. Mine was about $80 for the entire thing, which is expensive, but this will outlive me, I do believe. So, excellent, excellent. All right. So, if anybody saw something that they think needs to be in there that is not, please let me know. I want to make sure that it is ready so that I don't have to remember my brain all of the time. I know some days are just harder than the others. I just want to thank you all so much for coming. Please stick with us. We're going to do the drawing here just in a moment. I don't think I introduced myself, so I'll do it last. My name is Laspin Lenning. I'm the Adams County A&R agent. I'm the only agent, so I'm all of them. And I thank you all for coming today. So, we have a quick poll here that I'm going to share. It's going to be your exit ticket. Let's see. Polls, quizzes. And then we'll have a little demographic thing. There we go. Surviving the county fair. So if you guys could fill that out, we would sure appreciate it. It's extension. You guys know we have to get information on everything.
And be sure not to leave after you submit that, because we are going to make sure that the winner for the last drawing is still on here.
Yes. There are two $25 gift cards that we're giving out. So the first one we already drew for. Jill will talk about that in a moment. And then the second one we will draw now. If you want to put that towards your Oh Shoot Box materials, you are welcome to. If you have somewhere better to put it, that's up to you. Alrighty, Jill, do you want to share who our first winner was?
Yes. Hi. Sorry, I was trying to get the last few names on my other wheel.
Or
Hopefully
I can
this
share
one
it then.
shares. We're gonna see if I can share it. Hopefully it works with my camera off. That seemed to work with my presentation.
Sure.
Okay, so the first one, we did that, and that one went to Alicia Harstead. So I will send her an email, and I will tie with her as well so we can get that sorted out for her. Are you guys seeing the right screen? My spinning wheel? Yes!
Yep.
Okay, so did my best. I tried. Okay, so we're gonna shuffle these a few times. Also, this is just a random Google spinning wheel. I really appreciate it's one of my favorite things to use. Yes, if you guys could fill out the demographics, we'll be sending out a post evaluation in like September after our fair, after your fair, our fairs, just so you guys can tell us like, yes, I use this, I love this. Like, I secretly want Aspen to send me the link for her toolbox, and then I'm gonna add everything to my Amazon cart. And I can't believe nobody said they always are looking for shamrocks. Like, that is the one thing, chevrons. That is the one thing that walks away from me every single year. Anyway, so the second winner is going to be Michaela, our 4-H agent in Grand Forks County. So congratulations, Michaela. I will reach out to you probably this afternoon. So with that, thank you all so much for joining us. We do have one quick question left, right? We have our other one.
So
Okay.
just remember to do that poll if it's still on your screen. We would greatly appreciate that, especially since it helps with demographics. Congrats to those winners of the gift cards. That is a great thing to have for participation, so we appreciate everything for that. One last thing is these will be uploaded to some Google Drive somewhere, and we will likely send out an email with the link to that specific folder, because we all know it can be a little bit of a pain navigating through however many Google Drive folders that there are. If there are any questions, feel free to stay on and we can answer any of those between any of us that gave information today. But otherwise, thank you all for coming on the call. Thank you, Megan, for introducing us at the beginning. And we also do have this recorded, so that will be somewhere as well.
I'll send it out, and I'm just remind everybody, the 13th of May is the webinar Wednesday about the new FCS Bowl. Julie Gein and Megan Big, and then May 20th, Sam Wallman talking again about fairs and achievement days after you already have animals entered and trying to get ready again for that. And I see in the chat box, Mindy has a question for Jill. But anyway, thank y'all all for coming. Mindy, did you want to ask the question to Jill?
Yes, could you go over that volunteer waiver again? We've never used it, so I was trying to write notes down just on where it is,
Yep.
who we have to fill it out, and where it goes when it's completed.
So this is something that, again, let me try sharing my screen so I can show you like my whole packet. Because I know how things work out, like it's never where I think it is. I will share my screen so you can see this. Because I did put very like detailed notes on like this is where we're gonna find it. Okay, can you see my screen, Mindy?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so on the bottom of the first page, it has a link to the safety website.
Okay. Okay.
Then you're gonna go under the column safety office. Towards the bottom's most current list, and then your office should keep one, state 4-H office, and then secure campus office or campus safety office.
Okay.
These are best practices. I can't tell you, yes, you have to do this. No, you can't. Best practices.
Okay. So 3 copies. Okay. And it's just those that are not in 4-H online?
Correct.
Okay.
This is a 1 day, like if you're volunteering for 1 day, it doesn't matter if it's 2 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, 1 day volunteer.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Shall we stop recording and see if anybody else has questions?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and end the recording now. Again, thank you everybody for coming, and I'll get this sent out probably by the end of the week. Thank you, everybody.